Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 94. Chad and I are creeping up there to 100, and it's no more thanks to you guys out there who are listening right now. And this week is no different. We have another amazing podcaster, an amazing black belt, Alex Martinez. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and the co-host of BJJ Foxcast, so I highly advise you guys to stop right now, go out there and follow him and his crew on all major platforms. This show is great. We get into awesome organic conversation as always. So sit back, relax, turn that volume up, throw those headphones on, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone out there listening. We also want to thank all our friends who are helping us and supporting us on this show each and every week. We want you guys to go out there and check out our social media platforms. All of our sponsors are listed on there. We even have discount codes for you guys to use to get products at a better price. So go out there and check them out. We appreciate you guys. These individuals, companies, people, they make this podcast, the Limitless Radiocast, successful each and every day. And we ask you guys to do the same. We care about you guys and hope you're all doing well. So please enjoy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Hope everyone out there is doing well. So Chad and I have the great honor to hang out with Alex Martinez. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Paul Nava. He's a retired veteran of the United States Navy. He also is the co-owner and lead instructor of Ares East Mesa BJJ in Arizona. And he also is a host, I always mess this up and I apologize, with BJJ Foxcast, another awesome and amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu podcast that I highly recommend all you out there listening right now to pause and go out there and follow him and on social media and his show, because it's great information and that's what we want to do. We want to spread the great word of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Alex, man, thanks so much for hanging out with Chad and I appreciate it greatly.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks. And I didn't quite retire out of the Navy. I did 9 years, 6 months, and 28 days total.
Okay, nice. Okay, and I apologize. I didn't ask you if you're retired. I assumed, which is, we all know what assume stands for.
I guess when you walk away, right? When you quit, you kind of retire, right? Just
that could be. Hey,
that your life.
They could call you tomorrow and be like, "Hey, we need you to come in and teach us a special class or something." So you never know. You know, it's hard to say.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun.
So how's training going for you, man?
Excellent. I had a little setback, a little knee injury, about 4 weeks ago. Got an MRI day before yesterday, so we'll find out what happened with that.
Oh, okay. So just recently have you had to have any treatments to it, or do you wear a brace or anything?
Don't wear a brace, but I do go to physical therapy. And my buddy Greg at Control Physical Therapy in Scottsdale is amazing. And he's putting me through it, but I'm happy to do it.
Good. Yeah, I mean, and obviously, you know this, and Chad obviously can contest to this. And I know when he was on the show, I think Chad, you talked about this, right? About your knee injury, first injury, and 18 years of training.
Yep.
Knee injuries are probably the worst thing that you can deal with in jiu-jitsu because it's kind of a fulcrum point of movements, you know.
Yeah, it's tough. I hurt my right knee. Like 4 years ago, had to get it scoped, and to this day, I still rehab that knee. I work with a physical trainer. Physical trainer, and he is. We really focus on getting the muscles around the knee really strong. So we're just gonna have to do it again, just different knee. That's all it is.
Yeah. Hit up if you do start wearing braces or knee sleeves. Hit up that Old Bones Therapy that we work with.
Okay.
Dude, I started wearing their knee brace. They make a hinged knee sleeve, and it's the most comfortable thing I've ever worn.
Old Bones?
Old Bones
Therapy.
Code Limitless 15 discount.
Yeah,
there you go. The cool thing is that they actually, I don't want to say they targeted, but they're out west, California area. So it was a lot of skateboarding, and they have a lot of other products and whatnot. Not to get a tangent on that, but Chad reached out to them, and we worked a deal to do some sponsorship opportunities with our show, and so they sent some products, and we've been wearing I wear them. I wear two different braces, not the hinged, but the regular, and they have like a gel that wraps kind of goes around your kneecap, which is awesome for shooting. I'm like, oh man, like now I feel great, like kind of shooting. Not that I didn't before, but let's be honest, man, pounding on the knees is no fun for an older practitioner in our martial art.
Yeah, you kind of hold your breath, right? I mean, sometimes,
I hope this isn't it.
Yep.
You get through it. If you get on top and you get control, and then you stop for a second, and you're like, okay, they're both there. Both knees are there. Sweet.
All good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's the worst.
Yeah.
Or when you get out of that roll.
Yeah. But you know, I heard it in a very, I hate to say the stupidest way possible, but you know how when you're working a move and it's like, it's not new, but it's repetition.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, hey, let's try the other side.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's not, well, it just wasn't quite that same resistance that there was on the good side.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it's basically just, unweaving the De La Riva hook. So I did the movement as as sharp as I would on the good side, but because my training partners, it wasn't his good side either, he didn't have that resistance that I was expecting. And so when I turned, it just went pop, and I'm like, oh, there it went. So yeah, but cortisone is amazing. My ortho drained it, so it feels pretty good right now.
Good. Yes, cortisone. I had a steroid cortisone shot in my shoulder, 4 months ago, I think. I couldn't lift. I got to the point to where I was just being stubborn, and I would go train, and then I would leave, and my arm, I couldn't lift my arm, and I'm like, I'm fine. And the next day I'm like, oh, good. I'm good to go. I can move, get through work. And then I'd go train that night, and then same thing over and over. So finally I went, and they were like, oh yeah, I don't think anything's tore, but, you're jacked up in there, man. So you want a shot now? I was like, sure, no problem. And fortunately it's been, it helped. And I've been easy with it, and I don't think I don't restrict arm bar so much on my right arm anymore. Yeah. I don't fight them. I just go tap.
Yep. You win.
Right. And
I always tell people, I just say, well, you win, winner, tap. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
But whenever I get injured, I use it as an opportunity to just kind of figure out like, what else can I do? Right.
Sure.
So when I hurt my right knee, I can't. So a couple things happened. We had a Vegas trip planned, and we had a cruise planned. So I'm like, I'm not going to get surgery before that. So I'm going to wait. But I had I had a lot of time to think, right? Because I mean, eventually, I've got to take care of this. But sure. I came out of surgery, and it was great. My Doc Zeman here in Phoenix is amazing. Came out of surgery, and I was still kind of groggy, and I'm on my phone, and I signed up for 4 tournaments. I'm like, okay, so Doc says I can start drilling at this point. I can be back to rolling at this point. So I should be ready by this month. So I started signing up for tournaments right then. That kind of got the juices flowing and got me to rehab, sure. And, got me mentally engaged. So it was kind of it was a blessing,
It pushes you to, it pushes you out of your, what we would call that comfort zone. You know what I mean? And we as people who do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or a martial art, and obviously I'm biased on this show I still think BJJ is the best in the world. So I'm going to say those who do it, it makes you being okay to be uncomfortable. Jiu-Jitsu does help you with that. So it's like, you're in an uncomfortable position, and you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to start working harder and be uncomfortable and to get better. You know what I mean? So that's cool, man. That's inspiration, for people out there listening. It's like, that's a good way to look at it. Not to wake up from something and sign up for stuff, but to understand that you guys should push yourself out there.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story about surgery. I went in, my surgery was supposed to be at 9 a.m. So of course you get there a couple hours early.
Sure.
So 9 a.m. came and went. By the way, I'm fasted, right? 11 a.m. came and went. 1 p.m. came and went. 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m. They finally call me. I am starving. So they get me prepped. And it doesn't mean you're going into surgery. That just means they're prepping you, right?
Oh, yeah, so yeah. There's still another.
Yeah. So I finally get into surgery, and I wake up, and they're like, the nurses there were awesome. They said, well, you may not want to eat something because your stomach might be a little upset. I was like, what do you got? So they're giving me these kids crackers, and I'm eating like a toddler, that little table that they eat. I'm just two-handed eating. I'm like, got anything to drink? And they're giving me Diet Coke. And I think I ate like 8 packets of those crackers. I was so hungry when I woke up. So yeah, so much for not eating right after surgery.
Yeah. Did you get sick?
No.
Oh,
no, I held it together. Yeah.
The body was like, listen, man, food in, more important.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, I got a question for you, Alex. I see these wrestling shoes in the background. Were you a wrestling guy?
I never wrestled until I started doing jujitsu.
Oh, okay. Nice.
My first wrestling coach, I met my first wrestling coach at age 40. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I've got a student. His name's Troy. Troy wrestled a long time ago, like 80s, something like that, right? He's an older guy. And Troy keeps giving me these things that I cannot accept. These shoes being one of them. Mark Schultz, Dave Schultz, John Smith, Dan Gable, all autographed shoes and more.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, there's legends autographs. And I said, Troy, I'll hold these for you, but I'm going to give them back. So my goal is to find a nice glass case that I can put them in and give them back to him. Yeah, I can't accept these. I can't accept them, but I keep them here because number one, I can't let my dogs near them.
Sure,
and
right.
So I just kind of put them up on that little shellfish kind of thing that I've got. So the other day he came in with these autograph posters, Dave Schultz autograph posters from back in the day, and I'm like, I can't accept these. And he's like, no, he goes, they're just in my mom's garage, and they should find a home. I'm like, anyway, so I'm going to frame those and give them back to him. And hopefully
that's awesome. Do you train with him?
Yeah. So he's one of my white belts. So
okay, nice.
Yeah. So he trains off and on. He had a couple things go on, a couple life things, a couple injury things.
Yeah.
Happened, but he still pops in and brings these things. And I'm like, God, I can't accept these things. I'm sorry, but I'll hang on to them until I can get them back to him and, in better condition than I found them.
That's awesome. And how much of a testament is that of he's a white belt, pops in and out, but that's the impact that you made and the people that around him, you know what I mean? Like we talk about this a lot on different shows and different times. And it's like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can impact people in that way. Like it changes people's lives, like more than you think. Like you feel like he feels like, you know what, like this is all I want to give this to you. Like you're my friend, like you're family to me now because you showed me something. You were there when I thought no one would ever be there or something, whatever it may have be. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, it's really cool, man. Like that's done that for me too. Like in jiu-jitsu, like I want to help every one of my teammates in any way I can, because I just think, like we were talking before the show, it's so hard. We know what it's like. And you go, I'm with you, man. Like whatever you need, like if I have to do something or whatever, or, hey, here's a gift, let me get this for you and that stuff. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Alex.
No, thank you. And there's I kind of look at it in two different ways. Like there's suffering together, you know what I mean? Like teammates that you suffer with and blood, sweat, tears kind of thing. And then there's meeting people where they are as a coach. When somebody walks through the door, you don't want to throw them in a competition training class right away. Sure. Right. You want to meet them where they are, right? What's their mental state? What's their physical state? How many injuries do they have? How heavy are they? And then you kind of build around that. So if you break it up, into the three pillars, so to speak, right? The physical, the technical, and the tactical, you can kind of groom somebody, to be that, that competitor one day, but you got to meet them where they are. And I think that's really the key as a coach. I really try to key on that. And I stole that from my diet coach, Jenny. I asked her what makes her so effective, because she's the only one that got me like on weight. Like, well, I guess I worked with one other person, but Jenny has really dialed me in. Nice. She goes, I just meet people where they are. If you're a super athlete, but you suck at eating, okay, we can start there. Right. She's not going to have me eat bland food right away. She'll build me up to that. And, the results. You used to eating bland food. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But it's not an overnight thing, right? I mean, habits are strong for a reason. Yeah,
definitely.
So this brings me up to, this is going to cover two things. I wanted to go back to the injury thing we were talking about. And like Terry said, it's very inspirational when you come back from an injury. I just came back. But we've been around a while too. So we kind of already have that jiu-jitsu in us, as we're not going anywhere. So I have a white belt, probably getting close to blue belt, and he got his neck tweaked a little bit, and we'll come back to who did it and what happened. And like you said, meet somebody where they're at. But I checked on him, right? He's, he left a little angry. Of course, when you get hurt, it's like, gosh, darn it, So his text was to me, I'm going to read it verbatim, is just tell me I should keep doing this. It's the most demoralizing thing I've ever enjoyed doing. right? And I like how he said that. And I'm like, of course you should keep doing this.
That's poetic.
Right. That's kind of a cool way he said that. But if we could talk, and Terry's still, like he says, young in his journey, 3 years in, especially as a white belt, if you get hurt and it's a bad one, it's like, man, how do you keep that person coming back? Right.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. It really depends on where they are. It's a mental thing.
Yeah, like, that's what I was going to go with. Yeah.
2 weeks after I started, you would have to point a gun at me to get me out of that academy.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I was in 100%. Some people are not. And some people live their life in this state of, when is this going to go bad for me? Right. So
they wait for that fear. They just live in that. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. They live in that. And they're kind of hovering on that. Right. And it's really difficult to read, but once you get to know somebody, you're like, okay, you can kind of read the personality almost. But when those folks get hurt, those are tough to get back. Yeah. Those are really tough to get because I always say teaching kids is hard because because of their attention span. Teaching adults is even harder because adults have so much baggage. So people have told them what they can't do there for so long that they believe it 100%.
Yeah.
So if they truly believe that they can't come back from a shoulder surgery, they're going to disappear. Yeah. And it's on us, right? It's on us to let them know, like, hey, bro, like we've all been through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, as coaches and instructors, that's kind of like you said, it's on us to get that person like immediately that night. He was gone for maybe because he ended up leaving and we continued class. I texted him right after class, like, hey man, how you feeling? Are you okay? I texted him yesterday. How are you doing? And, his biggest thing was just thanks for checking on me. And I think that goes a long way for us to keep those people coming back, that we do care.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a really good friend and, one of my students that he's been a blue belt for way too long, but he's got a job in law enforcement that keeps him, out of the academy
sure
weeks at a time. And, he sustained a neck injury and I check on him periodically and he's just that guy. Like he's going to find a way to get back. Because he just loves it. I mean, if you've been a blue belt as long as he has, you love it, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
So, but I admire those guys, but and the folks that leave, like you said, abruptly, and they're upset. I always have a conversation with them. I just tell them that. Yes, I understand you're upset. I understand that you left and I understand you didn't want to talk, but just know that I worry about you. I really do. Yeah. Because
the worst thing we can do is say, don't feel that way. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Feel how you're going to feel, man. It's okay. It's okay to be angry and upset and all those things because obviously
when I text Chad and said, I suck at jujitsu, he texted me back. He's like, you do suck at jujitsu.
That's a different conversation.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We have a different relationship too, just between.
Well, this was also to go back a little bit. It was, Terry at white belt, maybe a couple stripes, right, Terry? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's like, I suck. And my thing was, you should suck a little bit. We all, right. I mean, like you don't have it figured out. None of us do, but we also, we always think we should be better than we are, and I appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
But no, it's okay. Like,
yeah, I remember as a purple belt, I'm a very slow learner. So as a purple belt, things I want to say they started clicking, but I started processing more information more quickly. I remember there was a white belt teammate of mine, hadn't been training very long, and he was saying, I just want this to make sense. And my brain went to, how dare you? How freaking dare you say that at white belt? Like it's barely making sense at purple. And I love about it. I mean, even at black belt, I'll go to seminars and I'm looking at these guys doing these things and teaching these concepts. And I'm like, where the hell has this been? Like, that's the beautiful part of jiu-jitsu. You'll never master it. You'll never master it. Yeah.
I always ask this question and I want to, keep that thought, Chad, because I want to talk about that more, about that whole, that process.
Meeting and where they're at.
Yeah. But Alex, just real quick, when you hit black belt, were you like sweet or were you like awesome? I get to start all over.
Okay, so I've told the story several times, so my students listening to this will be rolling their eyes. But there's been three moments where I felt the same feeling. The first time I was coming back from a business trip, and I walked into my instructor's academy, and I'm looking around, and they're like, training really hard, and I'm like, oh boy, this is kind of weird, but this is kind of cool, right? The second time I had that exact same feeling was the day I tied my white belt for the first time and stepped on the mat. I'm like, okay, no one's stopping me. I can line up with these guys, right?
Right, yeah.
And then I felt it again when my instructor tied my black belt, and I didn't go back into the student line. I stood up with the black belt line, and I'm like, okay, no one's stopping me. I'm going to stand over here with these guys. It's that feeling. I still chase that feeling.
Yeah.
I want that feeling all the time because it's like you haven't reached the top of anything. You're at the base of the mountain all the time. I don't know. I don't even know if there is a summit, it's a false summit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good way. That's a great perspective. And I love how you said it, because like sitting here quickly and thinking back, like and maybe this is for everybody. Like I remember the exact day I called Chad, called East Coast Martial Arts, ask about jujitsu, what he told me, come in on the following Tuesday. I remember what was happening outside, like it was raining and everything. And then I remember going, I had borrowed a green gi from the thing and put a belt on. And I stepped on that mat. And after doing it, I was like, I was scared to death, but I was like doing this, I was like, I'm all in. And I was coaching basketball at the time for my daughter. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to be in the gym at that much. And, Chad and I had a little conversation off to the side. And then I just got the intro pack. I was like, bought the gi, bought the whole thing, just went home, told my wife, I was like, I'm in, like, this is what I'm doing. And this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I'm probably an exception. Nothing influenced me outside. It was just like, I always knew about it. I just didn't do it. I think I was scared. So then when I did it, and then I was like, I'm an all in guy. So it was like, oh yeah, like we're going nonstop. And when I had that moment of, we line up and thinking, oh, I want to be over there. I can't wait to be over there on that side of the mat. Like, I want to get over there. And then, you and everyone knows this, that's listening, that's a white belt or that has gone through being a white belt and beyond. I started doubting that, like that whole process, and those, jokingly about that text to Chad. He obviously is a huge advocate and for me, and a great coach and mentor, to where coached me through all that stuff, which I know everyone goes through it, everyone in that, and it is the different mindset of people. But when I got that blue belt, it was that same feeling. Like, I remember why I did this. I remember what challenge I wanted. And then standing on that other side, I'm like, I look at the guys, from young to older, and I think, you got this. Like, just believe in yourself. Like, believe that everyone here on this side of the mats, we want you to be over here. We want you to keep pushing and moving, so that has helped me a ton, going like in my journey. So anyway,
I love that. No, that's fantastic. And congratulations on your blue belt, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's a big deal. It's so hard to get a blue belt. It's really difficult because there's so many things that can happen from the time you send that first text to the time you tie that or your instructor ties that blue belt on you. A million things that can go wrong, and you manage to avoid 90% of them. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to think of the young man, like at our gym, that is, he's going through a storm right now of this. It's it's a jiu-jitsu journey storm. And I think of, man, and everyone listening, you both have gone through many different things in your journey, and like, how can we navigate that for them? How can we, what I mean? Like that mindset of like teaching them that mindset or getting them to overcome that. That's huge. And I don't know that it's talked about that much in jiu-jitsu, or maybe it is, and it's not. Like, we don't talk about it out like this, like in a show format type, or a podcast or whatnot.
I think there's two schools of thought on that. I think one of them's a little bit more jaded than the other, because you just don't know who's going to be around. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So as a teammate, as a coach, as a blue belt, I'm sure you're trying to help the new people, because our job, like you said, is to get people as good as possible so they can help us get better. Right.
Yes.
And when we do a new student orientation at our school, and I always tell them, like, you're not a guest here, you're family. Okay. Yeah. Just get that through your head right now. and I explain that to him. I explain the process, right? If you, my intent is that to make you as good as I can possibly make you, because that'll help me get better. But there's also the folks that are, blue belts and purple belts that are like, man, if you're not here for a year, I don't even want to know your name. Right.
Yeah.
And there's people out there like that.
Yeah. And, for sure.
And you would hope that jiu-jitsu would weed them out, but it sometimes doesn't. I think if you're really truly, it doesn't matter the time frame that you have the opportunity to affect somebody. It's the taking ownership, responsibility, and really taking the opportunity to invest in someone. Who knows? Maybe maybe they do jiu-jitsu for a month, but they talk about you 20 years from now, like that guy Terry, man, for some reason. You know what I mean? Like for some reason.
100%. Yeah. Planted that seed in them in order to grow it later, whether now or later, however it may be. Yeah. 100%. I get that for sure. And that's always been my approach. I try to do that. I'm actually trying to currently, I told Alex a little bit, like I'm going through a work storm, Chad, just to give background to this whole thing.
Right.
Like that's where I'm trying to come back to. Like I want to plant those seeds again. Like I was getting away from that, and I want to plant those seeds to people. It's like, hey, it's just one word. Like if I say one thing and that changes everything about your life, or if it doesn't do it for 10 more years, awesome. But I just want you to know that like I cared, and I cared about you in that moment. So go forward and whatnot.
And Chad and I talked about that a little bit on my podcast, the BJJ Foxcast, by the way.
Yes.
Shameless plug. But we talked about what you want your black belts to have in common, the black belts that you promote. And for me, it's simple: mentor.
Yeah.
I don't care about champion. I don't care about anything. I care about mentor. Who did you affect in a positive way? Yeah. Right. And if you did that, you left an impact that's going to last the rest of your life. I mean, the rest of their life too, right?
Sure.
So that's kind of.
I kind of have the same little spiel speech every time I promote somebody to a color belt or give them a stripe, right? Like, I want you to be a good person. You're not going to get anything from me if you're not, right? Yeah. Like, and I always joke because there's that famous thing with Dean Lister, like, I'm not going to give anybody a brown belt that's a bad person. I'm like, why'd you wait that long? Like, why'd they get the brown belt before you figured it out, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, man, I want people that are gonna, mentor people and just be good people, man. Like my black belts, when they're in class and I'm teaching, they're grabbing the new white belt. Terry grabs the new white belt, without me saying, hey, why don't you help them out? I don't have to, because that's the atmosphere and what we've created. Yeah. I don't have to go and do that,
Yeah. And once you set that expectation, it's almost, it's just a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
That is what you just said, Alex, like the natural thing. It is cool to, I'm a deep thinker, and I will think about that. Like I will sit back at the gym sometimes if I'm, taking a round off and I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, like everyone, like I watch guys stop in the middle of a roll, or they're, flow rolling, and they're teaching that younger person, like, hey, like this is why this works or whatever. And that for me was like, it's endless, obviously, in your journey in jiu-jitsu, but that was huge for me, because I was like, at first you're like, I know nothing and I'm never going to get this. Like, this is like what? Like, you want me to do what with my leg and what? Like, top control Americana, sweet. I could do that all day. Other than that, it's like, forget about it. Like, I'm too stupid, and I'm not. That's it's also a frustration part too with jiu-jitsu. I was like, man, like you're an engineer and you can't figure this out. I was like, what's wrong with you?
Well, a lot of that, I think, as we've talked about this before, is there's so much stuff out there for new people to look at. It's almost too much. And it's like they have so many things running through their head. Should I try this? Should I do this? So, my thing is like, just do what you know. Yeah. Like what we teach in class, just do that. It's okay. Terry jokes to this day, but what did I tell you when you first started, Terry? What was my famous line? Stand up.
Stand up, and I say it all the time.
Get off your knees and stand up to pass guard.
You can't pass on your knees. You can't pass on your knees, because so I wrestled. And so I felt safe, head down in. Got triangled 9 million times because I would head down and in, and I would try to pass from my knees. Like I felt strong base. I was not comfortable unless I was shooting, from a standing position. Well, Chad would not scream in a bad way, but Terry, get off your knees. You can't pass stand on your knees. You can't pass guard. So now, like, instantly, like, it's in my head. Like, I will tell people, I'm like, stand up, stand up. Like, you can't do it. Like, it won't work. And I know because it didn't.
I just had that conversation the other day with somebody, and they're like, well, if I stand up, I might get swept. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You might. But if you stay on your knees, we're going to do this little dance, and I might triangle you. I might sweep you, but you're not going to pass.
Yeah.
And our famous thing is Pete, myself and Pete, the other black belt, is, we'll teach something. They're like, well, can I get choked there? We're like, listen, the closer your car got to the gym tonight, the odds of you getting choked increased. Right. So yes, you could get choked in this position.
Yeah. When somebody's trying to pass from their knees, I just tell them, you're already swept.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a matter of time.
Oh, yeah. You're already swept.
Yeah. You just don't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I have a couple students that are my what if students, and I love jujitsu so much, I kind of frown on what ifs. Keep asking the what ifs, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all technique and adjustment. Mm-hmm. Because it's a moving body. It's not a punching bag, right? So there's going to be some technique, but there's going to be some adjustment. And the students will be like you said, Chad, like you said, like, just do the technique that we're showing. Yeah. I always just eat what's on your plate right now.
Yeah.
Let's do this 10,000 times, and then we'll work on the what ifs, right?
What ifs, yeah.
Eat what's on your plate, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to state it, for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've, and Alex, I'm sure this happens at your academy as well, is where you have, I would never do that, or that doesn't work for me. Like, my body style doesn't work for that.
Yeah.
I look at stuff, and so Chad is, 6'1" and 150 pounds. I'm 6'1", I'm 230 pounds. So, like, yeah, our legs don't move like Chad's legs do. Like, he's super flexible. I'm not super flexible. Like, I am strength in other movements. Awesome. But I'm not going to not do something just because I'm like, I could be in a roll and go, oh, haha moment. Like, that's what we just learned. And it actually is there. Like, it actually works. You know what I mean? So, like, don't sell yourself short on what you're learning from your instructor or coach, whatever have you. And don't sell yourself short on what you can't do. Like, I try to tell people that all the time. And it is hard, obviously, to do that. As adults, right? Alex, like, kids, they're like, kids okay,
do it. Yeah. Kids won't do it because they don't feel like it, right? Adults because of their baggage. It's a very different dynamic, man. Yeah. We have an evening coach, Josh Cisneros. He's, I consider him the head instructor, for all intents and purposes.
Sure.
But Josh is, he's 22 years old. Very, very active competitor. If you don't know who he is, look him up. It's, ADCC, all that stuff. He's really good.
I know who he is. Everyone knows.
What I love about his coaching style is, number one, it may look flashy, but if you really, like, as he's explaining it, you see the fundamentals in there, and he always ties that in. He's so fundamental down that he gets away with a lot. It looks like he's getting away with a lot, but he's got all the checkpoints hit. Right. Sure. So as he's teaching, he's never taught me anything I can't do. I'm 50 years old.
Yeah.
I've never said, and my body doesn't do that, because it's all fundamentals, and he's just adding a little bit of flavor to it. And it's beautiful. I love the way he rolls. And I kind of take that into my teaching. I teach a lot of the fundamentals classes, but a lot of the stuff that he's showing me are, just a slight variation on a grip. That, and I've been using the same position for years, and he'll tell me, it's so funny. He'll tell me something like, well, it's not that your position is wrong. It's just kind of antiquated. I'm like, hey, man. But
great confidence booster. No,
but I love learning from the kid. I mean, he's 22, but
we call everyone younger than us kids. I do the same thing all the time. And I don't mean to. It's just, I don't know why.
Well, there are times that I meet people that I have boots older than they are. So they're kids. So yeah.
I think I said that about I'm like, he's a good kid. And someone was like, he's like 32. And I was like, sorry. Like, I don't mean to. I was like, he looks like he's 10, but awesome. Like, I didn't mean no disrespect. It's just bad. Maybe I need to get better at that verbiage, but I don't know. It's still fun too. There's worse things I could call them. So
that's very true. That's very true.
That's the cool thing is, and Chad talks about this. Chad, you talk about this all the time. Like, I think the perception sometimes with jujitsu is I should be able to do this and this and this and this. And even when they watch all that stuff, instead of thinking, oh, there is technique, and, you know, go back to Marcelo. When I first, Chad shared Marcelo videos with me and I watched them and I was in awe. Like, I couldn't compute how someone could move like that and do that and just move grips. As someone else was like pulling away, he already knew like what other grip to take. And it was very methodical, and just, it was very different for me. I don't know, you know, and like, he was like, that's Marcelo, but like, he focused on technique. He focused on that part of it. And I think that kind of goes away in jiu-jitsu because there's so much information out there. They see the flashy stuff. They see great professional athletes that, you know, I never down anyone that's doing jiu-jitsu. I don't down anyone that's at the top. They're professionals, man. That's why they are pros. That's why they're doing it. But you as an individual have to understand they worked extremely hard to get there, and their technique is good and great, whatever have you. And you need to work on that technique, though. Don't just think you can do it.
Yeah. But also, like I always say too, with TikTok and Reels being so famous and quick, right? You see this flashy, cool, whatever back take, and then you come in and try it and it doesn't work. And it's like, well, yeah, they're doing it on a non-resisting opponent, right, you know, to show you the move, and you don't know what you're not seeing. You know what I mean? That you try to do it live, you're like, oh yeah, I'm missing all kinds of things. So
yeah, you know, it's funny. I you know, going to the repetition point of it, and having a more, I guess you can call it passive partner, right? I think that's so valuable. I can't even put it into words. When people ask me, like, how much resistance should I offer when somebody's practicing a technique? And I always tell them, well, how much resistance does it take for you to walk across the room?
Yeah.
Just enough to hold your posture up.
Yeah.
Right? Just enough to hold yourself up. So you're giving them a platform to work off of.
Yeah.
And the question is always, well, isn't that unrealistic? And I'm like, when you're drilling something, it's about getting that muscle memory, right? And then as the resistance increase, you see the holes in your technique, not the technique, and then you can kind of tighten those up. But without that repetition, it's so difficult to really get the technique. I mean, it's just those things. And I was really lucky. I had a guy, Blaze Chatham. Blaze is well, I don't know if he's still in the Navy, but he left us because he joined the Navy. But he was a D2 wrestler. And I was we were both white belts together, and he taught me how to drill. And what I mean by that is, if you told Blaze to do one thing and you set a timer for 10 minutes, his head does not pop up. Yeah, he doesn't look up. He just drills and drills and drills and drills. And it was 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. And we didn't even know what time it was. And we didn't know where the clock was. And the reason I say that is today, if I were to teach a technique, right? Or I'm sure you guys see it also on the mats. You teach a technique and like half the room is drilling, the other half does it a few times, and then they're sitting there BSing, right?
Yep.
They are, and those are the same ones going, "Hey, this thing kind of doesn't work." Yeah. You're right. You're right. What am I going to say? Yes.
I love it that you bring that up, Alex, because Chad has talked about this many, many times. Chad is you know, through my lineage, through Chad, James Klingerman is, you know, his black belt, and obviously will be through my lineage of my journey, but he's a driller, and he says that all the time. And I mean, you joke, you know, drillers make killers, but it's the fact of the matter is if you want to be great at something, drill it all the time. I have a 9-year-old son, 2 other children, but I have a 9-year-old son that is heavily involved in sports. He loves it. I can't keep him away from it. And he always asks me, how can I get better? How can I get better? And I said, bud, you have to drill.
Yeah.
He's pitching this year. We went last night and he pitched a session for himself. Like, he's like, all I want to do is pitch tonight. And I was like, okay, you sure? So we did the whole warm up, went through the whole process of stretching and doing everything. And then he threw about 75 pitches total. That's right around 90. I mean, right around 9-10-year-old is what he's in. And he's good at it. He's blessed. Because I never pitched, so I coached a lot, and I couldn't give him the skills to tell him how to do it. But we've figured it out, and we have some other people that are involved with us. But I told him, and we went home, and he was like, "I felt really good." He was like, "Now I'm just going to go home and play basketball." I was like, "Okay." So, yeah, like, and he that's what he's done. And I've kind of planted that seed in him, and my other children, they're really good at school, like very good. My oldest is super smart. And I said, hey, you got to challenge your brain. Like, you have to keep doing this over and over if you want to be good at that. Like, I'll support you, whatever. And it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu or anything you do in life. It's like, do it, right, Chad? You always say,
yeah. Really, and
right?
I think Alex touched on something that we don't talk about is you need that drilling partner that's going to give you something back, right?
Yeah,
there's a fine line between of you can't be a dead fish because I don't want that reaction. And then I've seen guys like they'll scissor sweep their partner partner just falls face first. I'm like, you're not gonna react like that.
Yeah,
you're not just gonna fall over either. So there's definitely a give and take on having a good drill partner to get them reactions that you want.
Yeah. I had one student will remain nameless. He told me once, he goes, yeah, no one's ever caught me in the fundamentals class. And I'm sitting there going, we don't really roll in the fundamentals class. What are you talking about? So he is going 100% resistance on the technique with his training. And I'm like, okay, so we got to back that off a little bit to allow them to do the technique. That's what we're kind of trying to accomplish. And I'm still working on him. He'll get there. He'll get there.
Nice. Yeah. Good. We have a good friend of the show, Christian Woodmansey. I don't know, Alex, if you know who that is. Very great at jiu-jitsu, and the way he coaches is when he's going through the technique, he gives the percentage. He's like 20% resistance on this time. This time you guys go through 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Then we're going to add a little bit, and now I want 50% resistance. And then, hey, we're at 100% resistance now, guys. You guys are giving them everything, and they're trying to get the technique. And that hit me when he, at seminars and, we have a relationship and whatnot. I've coached that way when I coach the kids or coach anything I've done. It's like, I'll go to a kid and I'm like, hey, slow down. Like, you're going way too hard to start. Like, let's get yourself going, man. Get yourself warmed up a little bit. Hey, 10%. I'm coaching my son's baseball team now. And I go, hey, 10%. We had a kid get hit in the face the other day, busted his nose, everything. And I looked at the kid throwing the ball. I go, why are you throwing the ball so hard? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, don't do that. Like 10%, man, just nice, easy. You're getting opened up, and I think in jiu-jitsu, when Christian said that, it's like, oh, let's do that. So let's ramp it up a little bit. And I'll tell my partner, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give you more resistance here. I'm gonna give you a little bit more. I just kind of do that. I did it this week with one of the biggest guys that's in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Juice.
Yeah.
Jesus, who I was training with. So Chad knows who he is.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But to get back where we talked about that earlier, we were going to come back to that, meet somebody where they're at, right? With that, what level they're at. So this kid's come in, I should get a kid. He's 28, 29 years old.
See?
And he's been in for a couple open mats on Sundays, which I don't. Sunday's my day off. It's family day. I don't go in Sundays. So Pete, our other black belt, was telling me about him. He's like, this kid is like a really good wrestler. I'm a little worried that he's going to hurt somebody because we know that wrestler mentality, man, is let's go.
Yeah.
So, I had reached out and texted him and said, hey, come in so I can meet you. I've never met you. Let's talk. What are your goals? So find out he's, wrestled D2 in college. Like he's just an athlete. He plays rugby now. So he's like, do you care if I roll tonight? It was this last Wednesday, and I got him one of our loaner gis, and he ended up, hurting somebody a little bit. And like, he felt terrible. Like I thought he was going to cry a little bit. Like seriously, he felt like, and then me as a coach, I'm like, man, I should have gave this dude some guidelines. Like, hey, you got to be careful on the neck, no can openers, no intentionally lifting their neck up hard, that kind of stuff. So, we talked after class, and it's like, he's like, maybe I shouldn't even roll. Maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm like, it's okay to roll, but we just have to talk about your goals. There's not one person in here that you probably can't come in and take down. Right. So let's work off your back. That's my thing with the wrestler. Let's get you on your playing guard. Right. Because he's an athlete and he wants to do this. And I would rather him do it with us with some guidance versus going somewhere else. And he just goes in and starts wrecking people with nobody really caring about that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
I really like your approach to that, because some coaches wouldn't have the courage to have that conversation to begin with. That's a hard conversation to have with an athlete. Well, he's 28, but he's still a young athlete.
Yeah.
And the second thing you said was you basically gave him permission to be himself.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's, because I mean, he was probably a little self-conscious. Mm-hmm. And then the worst thing that could have happened did happen. He hurt somebody, right. But you still managed to have that, that respect for him, that love for him to say, hey, this happened, but this is our path forward. Right. Mm-hmm. We're talking about goals. All right. Well, I want to compete. Okay. At what level do you want to compete? Because you can win blue belt matches all day long. Do you want to compete at purple belt? If the answer is yes, then work from your back. Because purple belts don't care about a wrestler. I hate to say it. I love you, wrestler.
Yeah. It's true though. Yeah. I mean, and I've seen it. I've seen it. Like there's facts. Alex, you're speaking facts. So
but I love that you even had that conversation, Chad. That's a tough conversation to have.
Yeah, I had to. And the worst thing, I don't want him leaving. He already felt bad. I could see it. Like physically, he felt terrible that he hurt this guy. So I didn't want him to leave feeling any worse. And it's. I said the line that, one of my mentors that's no longer with us, Steve Heineman, who started East Coast Martial Arts, passed away years ago, but he would always tell these big guys that would come in like, hey, you can't break your toys. Then we got nothing to play with. So that's the line that I used on him. And I think it kind of like, or here's the other thing. Because I've seen this happen too with guys. Nobody's going to want to roll with you.
Yeah.
You're going to walk around and say, hey, you want to roll? They're going to be like, no. I don't. And it's not because they're not tough guys either. They just don't want to get hurt. Like, hey man, I got kids I want to pick up and play with. And like that was another line that Mr. Hyman used to use, like not tapping, like, hey man, you want to pick up your daughter in the morning? Well, yeah, of course. Well, then tap when you have an Americana so you can pick her up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Those kinds of, you just got to humble yourself and that ego talk and all that stuff,
Yeah. I've got a kid. This one is a kid. He's 22. So but he's 22 years old, super talented. I mean, every sport that he's played, he's been all-star, you name it. Right. Yeah. Wrestled at Western Colorado, decided he wanted to focus on other things. So he came back to Arizona. He's going to ASU and, joined our team. He came to us as a blue belt. He started training jiu-jitsu probably when he was like 7 or 8. So he came to us as a blue belt, and he's a really, really good. I mean, he just got his purple belt, but he's
really good.
and he's got a great guard game because of the lineage that he came up through in the kids program. They played a lot of guard, so he has that going for him as a wrestler. And what he does, probably the best that I've seen, is he'll check you with a wrestling type of technique. So so he'll snap down, and as soon as you pop up, he blast doubles. But his blast double, he's so physically balanced that he can blast double, hold you, and then lay you down gently.
Not hard. Yeah.
And he's not that big a kid. He's probably about like 190, 185, 190. Yeah. But I've seen him do that to several very talented people in the room. Yeah. And I'm always in awe of that. I'm like, by the way, my back would blow out trying to hold somebody up. So I'm very impressed with him. But yeah, his shot is so quick, and it's that quick blast double, and then he just lays you down. I'm like, that's a lot of control, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Is the Chad, I'm gonna just ask, is the individual that hurt their neck, are they okay? I mean, are they coming back? I don't know any.
Oh yeah.
Alex, I'm in the dark here.
No, it happened. It was the person that I referred to earlier with the most demoralizing thing they've ever loved to do. It was that guy. So who's been with us for a while. So
okay.
He's coming back. Yes, absolutely. Good. So everything's cool. The line that Terry's heard me use a lot is, we're not baking cakes. We're doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, things are gonna happen. We try to limit that as much as we can. And
go ahead, Alex.
I'm sorry, but just along the lines of like, new people or visitors, especially visitors, open mat visitors. I'm thinking about having a kind of like a I hate to call it a code of conduct, but some kind of like have part of the waiver be a kind of rules of the gym. Maybe limit them to a IBJJF standard practice, right? Sure. Where I don't want them heel hooking, I don't want them slamming, I don't want them cranking the neck in any way, shape, or form, especially C-spine. Not great.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that needs to be talked about before they hit the mat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you think, Chad? Do you think a conversation is enough, or do you think that having it in writing and having them read it it would be a little bit more.
It's probably both. I mean, especially if, with these two guys too, with the wrestlers, they were only coming in for open mat, which I'm not a big fan of, especially when they don't have any jujitsu. And open mat isn't your class. It's for my other guys to train.
Yeah.
Pete, my other black belt is the one that opens up and kind of runs that, but that's his training day. He's not there to teach you that day. Yeah. Now, not that he's not going to show you some stuff,
right?
But it's not a class.
Yeah.
But like you were talking that code of combat, I'm actually working on this now. Is we have intro packs when people start up, right? So you get a gi, a t-shirt, your belt, and 2 weeks of classes for X amount of price. So I'm working on something, a flyer, a letter to put in that package, which is kind of our rules of the gym, our hygiene, type of thing. That here you get this with your intro.
I love that.
You kind of know what's happening, and I'll go over that with you too, not just trusting you to read it. But here, this is our do's and don'ts.
I like what you just said too. You didn't say code of conduct. You said code of combat.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I got to bring that up. But go ahead, Alex.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's way better than my lame code of conduct. I think it's very difficult to communicate that in a very short period of time, right? Because people walk in, they want to get on the mat as soon as possible, so they want to sign a waiver as quickly as possible. But I think there is a conversation to be had because want to avoid injuries. And like you said, people coming in just for open mat.
Yeah.
Not my favorite.
No, not at all.
I have a question to both of you guys, and Chad and you and I have not talked about this, just in lieu of the recent stuff that happened with the individual that got hurt and Rainier, did whatever. I haven't read a lot into it because I try to keep myself out of that stuff, so I don't get stuff planted that I don't believe should be planted in my head, if that makes sense to anybody. But do you think that, Alex and Chad, that is going to cause these type of conversations that we're having right now, making codes of rules of things because of that, because it is a business and you don't want your business being taken to task for something like this? I understand you sign waivers and things of that nature, but will this change? Is this going to change jiu-jitsu going forward? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I think, what we just talked about, that code of combat, is all good. I would do that whether this happened or not.
Sure.
Because I want to take care of our people. But I think a lot of it is the atmosphere of the gym and your people. Knock on wood, I don't ever see that happening with us. There's a lot we could say about what Henner said in this case, and that's probably a whole nother podcast we could get into, right? But I mean, people can sue for anything. Will they win? True. And we talk negligence with this case, and I don't know. You can talk a little bit, Alex. We can talk back and forth on it. What do you think?
Well, first I want to say it's a freaking tragedy, man. No one wants to hurt anybody.
Right,
I mean,
100%.
We don't go in there, especially when you get to blue belt and above. You're not going in there to hurt anybody. And I've seen the video, and it breaks my heart, man. It really does. And will it change things? Maybe. I think jiu-jitsu is still is not so mainstream that people are going to hesitate to train in a jiu-jitsu academy because they saw this video. I don't think anybody outside the jiu-jitsu community has really seen it or paid attention.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but within the jiu-jitsu community, honestly, it's worth having the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that will change is like the code of combats type of things. Like, hey, we don't do this here. The reality is, how many times have you landed on something you didn't want to land on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
more times than I can count.
Yeah.
I mean, things are going to happen on the mat that they're unexpected. And, it's very difficult to defend against gravity.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, So will it change things? The short answer is yes. How much? It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing it, that's what I was worried about right away. I was like, great. I was like, the greatest thing that I love outside of my family. It's going to change. Like Tom DeBlas had a really good post. He's like, this is like, I've considered for this exact reason, not allowing visitors to do whatever. I didn't, read fully into it, but I was like, man, I can see, because that is your business. That is your livelihood. Like, you have to protect that. I understand that wholeheartedly. So I'm like, where are we going to go with this? Like, we're in the era of reels and as much information, as much instructionals as you could possibly get to. Great. Now you're going to sign a book in order to get on the mat. And because you put owners in a position where they have to protect themselves, and then you have insurance companies out there who be like, oh, well, guess what? Rates are going to be this now because this happened, and it's going to ruin it for a lot of people. And I very much dislike that.
Yeah. Even before this tragedy happened, my instructor's instructor stopped doing having open mat being open to the public. Open only for his students or affiliates, only students, affiliates. And the reason he said it probably the best, he goes, it only brings problems. It doesn't bring any business. If you're letting people go there for free, they're not going to sign up because they're going for free. And it only causes injuries. That's the only result. I mean, it's either a perfect day or a tragic day. It's never like, there's no in between, you know what I mean? So there might be something to it, man. I don't know. I'm considering it.
Yeah.
And you have to, and it's a must-have conversation from someone that has, a business. Like, for me, from an outsider looking in, to me, it's like, I don't want BJJ to go away, and that's not going to, but the litigation part of getting in there is going to change. The rules are going to change, like the code of combat, like it has to for you guys. Like, and I want it to, because I want you guys to be safe. I want you to be able to do what you love and have what you love as part of your resource in your life. So, man, it's weird. It is interesting, seeing what I have seen now in my short period of time in this journey is like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this community that I would never thought
a lot. So here's also, I wanted to touch on, obviously, like we all said, it was a tragedy what happened to this person, right? It was 5 years ago. I think 2018 is when it happened. And I have read that person is doing better.
Oh, good. Okay.
Good.
They said, because at first I think maybe it was quadriplegic, if I'm not wrong, but I think that person is now doing hiking and climbing some things and doing a lot better. So that's awesome too.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
A lot of things you hear the bad and never the recovery or the good. Right. I wish,
the good never gets clicks. So,
that's it.
Unfortunately, it doesn't.
It never does. Terry and I used to talk that, not to say the C word, the COVID word, but like during COVID, we always heard those bad numbers, and when it would get better, we never heard.
Right.
Right. Let's tell people some good stuff,
Right. Yeah. I will tell you one thing that I don't know if I don't want to say it upset me, but I was kind of disappointed when people were, I don't know Henry Gracie. I'm not a fanboy. Like, I don't know the guy at all. But when people are saying, oh, he got paid $100,000 to be a witness in this case. And you get compensated for your time. Period.
And he is an expert witness.
Yes. Right. I mean, with his accolades and his pedigree and his background and all of the things that he's created in jiu-jitsu that have, by the way, most people piggyback off of, makes him an expert.
Sure. Yeah.
So he should be compensated for his time. Yes. And if that compensation, I had my buddy passed away, but I had a buddy who was he was a toxicologist and he was an expert witness. So he literally got paid for his time and knowledge.
Yeah. Right.
Good on him.
For sure.
I don't know. I was a little upset about that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. And like, did you watch Henner's video, Alex? Did you watch his breakdown of?
I can't sit through too much of Henner's.
I know he's. Yeah,
I saw the first 7 minutes.
Okay, so I will say his breakdown did make me look at it a little different. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Not agreeing with either side, whatever, but he did break it down very well, I thought.
Yeah, and he's come out and explained like a couple of things, kind of clearing the air.
Yes,
sure.
But, unless you're sitting there. Attorneys can make things sound really, really bad, right?
Yeah.
Examination
that's their job.
is what it is. Yes.
Yeah, that's what they have to do, right?
And when you're answering just by saying yes or no, it can sound really bad. So
right, exactly. They're the ones that have done the legwork in terms of how they're going to present it. And when you're just put into short little burst of answers with a yes and no, or even short comments, you're instantly blaming that person for that short little comment, but you never put yourself in perspective and go, wow, but that attorney led that. They led it into that because that's their job, man. That's what they're supposed to do. Yeah. I look at it like this too. He got paid to do a job. He got paid to do it. Do you not think that they weren't going to find somebody else to do it? If he did not do it, they would have found somebody else. They would have went through 100,000 people, whatever number you want to throw out there, until they found someone that was going to give whatever they wanted it to be. some expert thing. It would have happened no matter what.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean,
is it unfortunate? It's unfortunate from both ways till the cows come home. Like whatever you want it to be, it's awful. I hate that it happened for both people, both the instructor and the individual that got hurt. I pray and hope that everyone will recover all throughout time and that it will get better. But I mean, it is what it is. I just don't want our community to change. Like I want our community to kind of be stronger, maybe from it and learn from it and like compliment each other on it. And like, hey, maybe we should change some rules or do that. You know what I mean? And we'll see. Yeah. Who am I?
I just hope it makes I just hope it makes instructors a little bit more aware, sure. Not, there's sometimes like a borderline slam where you don't quite say anything. You probably should.
Yep.
If two white belts are rolling and there's a heel hook happening, probably not a good idea to let that play out. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, little things like that. I hope kind of opens people's eyes.
Yep. It's okay being it's an uncomfortable thing, but you gotta talk to things. Cause then, I was told years ago, like I started teaching at white belt, like I was teaching classes and Mr. Hyman that ran the gym, he's like, listen, if anybody gets hurt during your class, it's your fault. Yeah. You are the one, you're in charge of this. So if you need to walk around instead of rolling and watch people, then you got to do that, and sacrifice your time, and over the years, I think I've created a good atmosphere where, while I'm rolling, I kind of do keep an eye on different things too. And if I feel something getting heated, I will stop it,
It's kind of wizardry. I kind of always, that's why he has this off. I'm like, saw this in the back of his head. Like, how'd you see that over there? I'm sitting here doing nothing. I didn't see it.
I've never rolled with Chad, but I kind of imagine myself getting tuned up and he's like coaching people as he's, you know what I mean? Like working on an arm and he's like, nope, don't do that. And
no,
kind of, I picture him rolling, like teaching and rolling at the same time. Yeah.
But, thank God for you great coaches. Like, and I mean that wholeheartedly because there is truth and fact to it that anyone out there find a good gym, make sure that you're being taught. I'm not going to say the right way, but in a way that what Alex and Chad have spoke on this podcast. Again, for me, it's a comparison of going, people have asked, well, why would you guys have a jiu-jitsu? There's podcasts, there's so many other out there. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I take it from a positive standpoint. I'm not trying to do this as a career. Yes. Alex, if someone came to you and said, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars a year to do a podcast all the time, you might consider it. I would do the same thing, but I'm not sitting here every day and going, this is my life. This is what I'm going to do. No, I want to pass good knowledge on to people. I want to give good information to people and make them feel, good about what they're doing and give them that confidence by having this. And I think one way of doing it is obviously doing this with other podcasts and other people that do this every day or do this all the time, like talk about stuff, get people to understand it, so don't know where I was going with that, but this is normal for me too.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. That compliment was nice. I can tell you one thing, doing a podcast and being an owner of an academy, I always tell people that my life isn't perfect, but there's very few things in it that suck.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you. That same exact thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah. But, so I'm sorry. My host, Gene is coming out. What made you guys? And first, I want to compliment you guys on your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast, and you guys do a great job. You guys are a great team.
Thanks.
So
Thank you.
Doing it, yeah. And the success you're having is with sponsorships and stuff like that. Well deserved. What made you guys decide you were going to do this?
It was very random. It was Chad bugged me for like 6 months.
I didn't really bug you. Yeah, twice. Yeah.
He asked me once, hey man, we should do a podcast together. And I kind of was like, and nothing ever in my head thought I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
And it was like, no way I'm going to be like doing that. And I have listened to podcasts, obviously. And I was just like, and then, months later, Chad was like, we should do a podcast. So then I was like, I talked to my wife about it and she goes, just do it. She's like, you're really good at coaching. You're really good at speaking to people. She goes, maybe this is your purpose. Maybe this is your gift. And I was like, all right, fine. So then I got on Amazon, did a bunch of research, started researching, on watching videos and how to edit and how to do all this stuff. Yeah. And then bought a package of, a mid audio tech or Audio Technica is what we use, the equipment that we use, and just got a, middle of the road, not the worst, not the best. Yep. And send it to Chad. And then it came. I didn't even tell him I was doing it. It just came. He called me. He's like, I guess we're doing a podcast. And I was like, yep.
Love it. I love it, man. Yeah. I think now being on it and meeting you guys, I met Chad, but meeting you, Terry, I think I understand why it works, because you've got an engineer and a martial artist doing a podcast together. So everything that Chad is not, you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean,
no,
100% way. And I think that's why it works, man. You guys are doing great.
Thank you very much, Alex. I appreciate that greatly. And you as well, man. Like when I told you, like listening to you and Chad talk, like I sat back and thought, this is like this is like us. Like this is when we talk. Like this is what I love listening to. I love listening to people that have organic conversation and learn something. I walked away from your guys' show and went, I learned something today. And that's important to me. And I think it should be important to everybody. Like try to take something away from what you're doing when you're investing in other people. Like try to learn from them too. Like they're like, even the white belt, like, let me learn something a little bit about him. Where's his mindset at? What is that? What's his feeling? Like just that little bit of stuff. And then I can build on that. And then the podcast part of it, I just made a friend for life. Like, I'm friends with you, Alex. Like 100%. I can message you and be like, hey man, how you doing? I hope everything's going well, whatever, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's important, like growing that network and growing that community feeling, you find that when you're in jiu-jitsu, you don't find it in a lot of other things that you do in your life,
Very true, man.
And that's what I want to tell you too, Alex, is I think not right after, but I talked to Terry later the day after our podcast and he's like, how did it go? I'm like, it was amazing. Like, and I told my girlfriend that and a couple people, I'm like, that was my favorite podcast I've been on. Like,
thank you,
because it was organic and we just talked for an hour.
Yeah.
When we stopped, I'm like, man, it's been it flew by, It
did.
I'm looking now and we're at an hour and I'm like, I always do this and I'll look down at the time and I'm like, wow,
where'd it go?
Where'd it go?
we are friends. And this is what I feel, maybe dumb statement, but like friends that didn't know they were friends. Like,
man.
You get it.
It's organic.
I mean?
Yeah, it's all organic. Don't force things, man.
Yeah, it's the other side of that 6-minute timer. We were talking about that. I don't know if you and I were talking about that, Chad, but I talk about when you're say at a seminar and it's like time to roll and belt promotion and there's guys from other schools that they're affiliated with your school and you're not quite sure who they are and you look at them and you're like, okay, we made eye contact. Here we go. But on the other side of that timer is a really good friend of yours.
Yeah.
That's all good. That is. Yeah. So,
and I appreciate when you made those reels you made of our show was awesome. I showed my girlfriend. She's like, wow. I'm like, don't you have to say it like that? Like, made me sound good.
full disclosure. I don't make those reels. I've got a student it's got Steven Shackelford. He makes those reels and he is on it, man.
That's awesome.
We've had one go, I guess, viral. I mean, we got over 100,000 views.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
But now, like the algorithm's starting to pick up, like yours, Chad, trying to pick up old ones, and I'm like, yes, keep going. So I can make any recommendations. Daily reels. That's
what I'm trying to do. Whether they get nothing or not, just keep making them.
Keep
worried about. Yeah.
That's how we split it up too. Chad handles all that side, and I handle the editing and recording, and keeping that side of it. That's my nature, I'm an engineer.
I love it.
It's like, do what you're good at. Okay.
Yeah. You're the I'll figure it out guy. I'm the I don't have time for this shit guy.
How about you guys? When you started the BJJ Foxcast, like, was it a long conversation?
So it was, COVID.
Yeah.
My buddies and I are sitting in my backyard, probably going through our, I don't know, second bottle of Buffalo Trace, and we're coming,
by the way.
we're coming up with ideas for just like t-shirt ideas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about, man, we should do a podcast, and it was 2 years almost to the day from the time we had that conversation to the day we hit record.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Nice.
it was a long.
And I remember you guys did talk about this on, when you had Chad on the show. I do remember you talking about this because I remember you mentioned it in the backyard. Yes.
Yeah. And yeah. So it was one day, I said, I'm going to do a podcast, and my wife is like, when? It was like, as soon as we get home. We're in Nashville.
Okay.
And same, kind of similar to you. I started, what do I want to do? Do I want to do audio? Nah, let's do video too. And so I started researching, cameras and some, audio stuff, and bought a packet, not the worst, but not the best. And, I've upgraded a few things since.
Sure.
But I absolutely love doing it. I sleep like a baby when I do a podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
That night is the best. I don't know. There's just something about organizing your thoughts and getting them out there, and maybe people will care. Maybe they won't, and by the way, I love the haters. They're fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you for commenting.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's been a really cool thing for me personally.
Yeah. It is, that has done that to me too. It's, as I said, I'm an introvert, by nature. I'm typically a shy man. Like I, won't speak out, and that has changed over the years, but the podcast has given me a voice more than I thought I had. And to where I like, I feel good about thinking I'm helping people. And I do believe that I'm helping people at certain times, whatever it is I may choose to say on the show, or have a friend or new friend, whatever, that's like, what? That's awesome. I can sleep well too, because I walk away going, that was a great conversation, and that's cool. No matter what happened, I got to talk to a really cool person, and that's what matters,
Yeah. And I love, getting to talk to black belts around the country, or just jiu-jitsu practitioners around the country is so amazing. Like we all have one thing in common. We all love jiu-jitsu. We all want to bring as many people into the community as possible. Yeah. But we all have our own little perspective of how we handle, like Chad, you having those tough conversations. I don't know that I do that until you and I just had this conversations. Now I'm thinking about the tough conversations I need to have.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And like you said, Terry, you just learned something. So did I. Right. I find myself to be a very organic kind of person. Like it'll grow when it grows, and this place will organically have its own little vibe. But there's times when you just got to have that sit down with somebody and say, hey man, that's not okay. Or, how do we make this better? How do we work together to get you to that next place where I want to roll with you? Right. Yeah. And so I'm taking a big leap today. Thanks to you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man.
I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It is, my job. That's the one thing where I'm trying to navigate how I get from point A to point B now that an event has happened. Yeah. So very, very similar to what you just said. Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
No, I was just going to talk about thankful that the people we get to meet doing our podcast, you too, Alex, man, and we can reach out to a lot of people, but knowing them through the podcast, I'm going to break some news on the podcast. But so Alex, we have a cancer awareness seminar every year for the last 11 years. As I mentioned a little bit, the guy that started East Coast passed away of stage 4 cancer 8 years ago. So I had started a seminar in his honor, and we donate all the money to a local cancer charity. And, we know where the money goes and all that. Well, every year I've had some high level people at this seminar. So this year I reached out to Kenny Kim after we had him on our show, and I know he's been on your show and you have connections with him. Yeah. Very good, and he's like, absolutely, I'll do it. And we're going to shoot an episode of Matt Made for the seminar.
So cool.
So I mean, could I have reached out to him without ever not talking to him? I'm sure I could have, but would it have been as cool and seamless if he wouldn't have been on our podcast? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's going to be in September. We're going to have him out and do some Matt Made stuff.
Kenny is such a genuinely good person. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. If you're ever in Marietta, Georgia, and you hang out with Kenny, get ready to see the whole city.
He takes you. Yeah.
That's just the guy. That's just who he is, and everybody knows him. I call him the mayor of Marietta. But he likes to have a good time, and he likes, you know, whatever's local. That's all he wants to do. Nothing crazy.
Nothing,
yeah. When he came out here to Phoenix, he's been out to Phoenix a couple of times, doing seminars and stuff. But most of the time, like I just throw a party at the house, and he's
completely
he's
like, that's awesome.
Yep. And that's what I have. You know, I'm going to line up. We have friends that have a local coffee shop. We have friends that own a brewery, and we have a buddy that does all our tattoos that's opening his own new place. So, those are the type of places I'm going to take Kenny to. That's my plan.
So send me the information for your I will, event, and I'll definitely support however I can. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. That's awesome.
Speaking of tattoos, go ahead, Alex.
Sorry, guys. I've got a PT appointment.
Oh, okay. Very good, man.
Save it for part 2, Terry.
Yes, part 2. Yes, we're going to talk about tattoos because I know Alex has some tattoos.
I have some tattoos. Yeah, we'll definitely do that next time. I hate to cut this short. I'm having.
It's all right, brother. It's all right. Hey, shout out everything real quick, Alex.
Yeah. So, so primarily, Ares East Mesa Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Mesa, Arizona. We're on the corner of Ellsworth and Guadalupe. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably really cool. So please come visit us. Even open mat, I'll let you in. But follow us on Instagram. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I don't think we have a TikTok, but we'll talk about that later. The BJJ Foxcast. Just if you want to be on the podcast, please DM me. That's kind of the best way to get a hold of me. But we are the BJJ Foxcast on Instagram, on Facebook. Don't go to our website; it's terrible right now. But and that's it, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on and let me do the shout outs and stuff. That's really awesome.
For sure. Well, thank you for everything, Alex. Have a great PT today. Be safe, my friend. I'll be praying for you to get healthy and everything. God bless you and your family. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Keep doing it. And, be reaching out to you for anything and just, hey, how you doing? So, Chad, you got anything?
Nope. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, all right.
Yeah, same, man. And one last thing, Chad.
Yep.
Please resend the information on your tape. I want to partner up with you guys and have
Limitless tape. Limitless tape, guys. Everyone.
Limitless tape. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll definitely place an order.
All right. Cool.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, brother. All right.
See you, brother.
See you later.